Welcome back to Raising Real Estate Standards. Thanks. Hope you guys are doing well. It's been a little bit since Brian and I got together to record, and a lot of stuff's happened in the last few weeks, few months. Markets adjusted, and we kind of want to just hit on where things are currently right now in the market and what that means for you as the agent and how you can best take advantage of the opportunities that are in front of you.
Yeah, I think everybody kind of feels a change and has felt a change for, the last little bit. And you're hearing a lot of things out there kind of, what's this market look like? What's it going to do? What's it, are we in a housing recession? Are we in a buyer's market? Are prices going to drop? And you're hearing a lot of things on the news. You're seeing these news headlines. And, one thing that we want to talk about is let's give you some facts on what's actually happening out there.
Absolutely. And as we go through these, just, understand that, nobody really knows exactly what's going to happen. Anybody that tells you they do is foolish, I would say, because I'll be honest with you. I thought X was going to happen and Y has happened. So as we're going through, these are just projections and thoughts, but we have no idea exactly what's going to happen. But right now, the market is kind of fluctuating up and down. There's inflation is still a big issue. The Federal Reserve is trying to tackle that, which affects us all. They thought they had some stuff under control. Numbers looked good, and market sentiment went up. And then all of a sudden, some numbers came in. They were not so good, and market sentiment went back down. So, it's some uncontrollable things for agents, things that we can't do. We can't control. All we can do is look at them, anticipate, but do the things that are in your control.
Yeah. You mentioned just a second ago about, you thought some things were going to happen and didn't. And you mentioned in a meeting that we had not too long ago, and I thought it was a really great stat. And we all thought inventory was going to really pick up through this. We all knew that sales were going to kind of slow down as interest rates went up, but then inventory would pick up. And then what happened? What really happened?
Sure. So, in a graph that we're going to put up here for you guys to look at, you'll see that typically in March of 2022, March or April 2022, when the market started to dip down, inventory shot way down. And the conventional wisdom was when interest rates rise, there's going to be less buyers in the market. There's going to be more properties for sale, inventory rise. So that's going to have a little bit of softening of prices in the market. Well, what actually happened is interest rates did rise. Buyers did pull themselves out of the market, but also at the same time, sellers pulled themselves out of the market at a faster rate than the buyers pulled themselves out of the market. And so what you had was, while there's less deals going on, and as real estate agents, we experience this, we're doing less deals. However, for the homeowner, the prices didn't really soften up. There was still an upward pressure on pricing because supply and demand. Supply went down faster than demand, and which was counterintuitive to what all the experts were saying and what I thought was going to happen.
Yeah, so that pretty much tells you right there that as long as we keep kind of that trend, this whole idea of prices going down, and when I say that, guys, I'm talking more about our local market, but on a national level, you're not seeing the price drop like they originally thought it was going to look like. So based on that trend, you're not going to see that. You're not going to see this buyer's market magically appear like we may have had, 8-9 years ago.
Absolutely. Not to get specific on the stats, but I'll kind of throw some numbers at you. Some of the big banks, some of the big financial analysts anticipated or projected that pricing in 2023 was going to see around a 6 to 7% decrease in home prices. Well, beginning in February, early February, late February, they did an about face and adjusted their projections, and they adjusted them from 6 to 7% decrease to a 2% decrease. Well, that's a huge change. And that's early in the market cycle. And I think what you're going to find is that as we get into midway through the year, they're going to also adjust their projections again. National Association of Realtors and a lot of the big analysts that are in the industry, in the real estate industry, anticipated a flat, but about a 0% adjustment. And they're pretty steady on that. They haven't adjusted that. And I think they were a little bit more accurate to what things were going to happen because, as Brian mentioned, some markets we'll see a little bit of a decrease. Some markets like ours in the central part of North Carolina are seeing increases, not decreases, but increases in prices still. So those will probably level out on a national scale, and will probably equal that 0%. We'll see. Who knows? We don't know. But that's what the smart people in the room are saying at this point.
Yeah, and there's not too many smart people in this room, actually. So.
No doubt.
But so let's look at this. So those stats pretty much say real estate is still a good investment. Correct. We're all on the same page there. We had this huge run up in appreciation, and if we're flat for a year, you haven't really lost anything. You haven't lost anything, and then you'll still continue to tick up. So real estate is a good investment. Let's look at the real estate agent for a second, because what you've heard us talk about and what you were really starting to hear around is this is going to be the year of the pro. Like Mark said, there's going to be possibly fewer or probably fewer transactions happening. The amount or the price of the home is not dropping, but the amount of transactions probably will. So as a real estate agent, we're going to have to be focused on, is this my career? Is this the future for me? Am I a professional?
Right. It's important for those that answer in the affirmative that yes, I am a professional, versus those that just decide to do this because it was a great way to make easy money. You professionals have a great opportunity, because those that thought it was going to be easy money, they're getting out of the business faster than faster than they got into the business. You're seeing exodus of real estate agents out of the game. What does that mean? That means the consumer is left with fewer choices. More importantly, they're being very decisive with their decisions, or looking into the agent, making sure they're getting the right person in this weird market. And so your ability to express your value and to be the trusted advisor and the consultant with your clients is going to be super important. And it's where you're going to get more business than your competitors, is being able to show your value and being able to articulate your vision and your ability to get them to what they need, which is unique in everybody's situation. Because let's be honest, Nick Bailey, CEO of RE/MAX, said he can predict at 100% that this year people are going to buy and sell houses.
Yep.
No question, they're going to buy and sell houses. People buy and sell houses not because, not 100% of the time, or most of the time, not for investment purposes. People buy and sell houses because life events happen. People get married, people have kids, people get divorced, people die. Things happen that cause people to buy houses. And those things don't change. That natural phenomenon doesn't change, which should give us some security that our expertise are going to be still relevant as the days go on.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because everybody gets so caught up in the interest rate piece of it. Is like, oh, interest rates have gone up to 6.5%. It's going to shut down the housing market. When was the last time you heard somebody say, you know what, interest rates are low, I think I'll buy a house? I don't think people say that.
No,
people buy houses, like you said, when life happens.
They don't buy houses. They may refinance.
Yes.
They may get a different loan when rates go down, but the choice to buy a house based upon the amount of interest that they're going to pay on is not a huge factor. It's a huge factor maybe not to upgrade at this point, maybe to wait. But it's at the end of the day, it's not a huge factor when it comes down to it because life is going to dictate those decisions.
Mm-hmm. So what do we need to do at this point? You know, you've seen this influx of agents into the industry over, let's call it the last 5-6 years. You know, now we're in this kind of change, this pivot zone. What do we need to do? What does looking like a pro look like?
Getting close with your clients, getting close with your the people that know, like, and trust you. You know, Jared James said, you know, he doesn't like the word past clients. I'm not sure I agree with him, but that's, again, he said he doesn't like the word past clients. These are just people that are actively referring you or actively looking to purchase. So you need to get close to those people. You need to double down on your sphere of influence because previously those folks, you know, might not have, you know, they had a lot of options. They have fewer options available to them. And that's where you're going to really catapult your business. You know, you should be touching, communicating, engaging with your sphere of influence at a minimum 24 to 36 times a year. 24 to 36 times a year, you should be having conversations with them. And it's not all the same thing. It's not all emails. It's not a drip campaign. It's not a text. It's not a phone call. It's not a meeting or coffee with them. It's not a going to visit them. It's all of it. It's every bit of it. And you need to be doing all of those things systematically and in a way that that they feel valued, and they see your value, but they also see that you care. That is where you make a difference. That is where you see your business take off. Because I have sat in a room of 50, 100, 1,000 people, and the question is it gets asked, how many times are you in touch with your sphere of influence? And when the question goes to the 24 to 36 times, let me tell you, it's about 1% of the people that will raise their hand.
Yeah. I want to dig into something a little bit deeper there because as we see less transactions, you are most likely going to see fewer leads. So many real estate agents over the last 7 to 10 years have built their business on being able to get leads provided to them via one way or another. And I'm not saying they're all going away, but what I'm saying is I think they're going to be a lot fewer. And on the other hand, like you said, focusing on your sphere, the people you know, and kind of getting closer with them, you're going to be able to cultivate more leads from this group because, again, they're going to be able to be more decisive, like you were saying. They're going to be able to choose. When you have like a cold kind of relationship, like you would have with here's a lead, why don't you give them a call? They're going to be less decisive to pick you because they don't know you. Now, I want to go into a formula that you have. There's a formula that tells you how many transactions or how many leads you should be able to get based on the number of people that you have in your sphere. Can you talk a little bit about that?
I can, but before we do that, let's back up for a second. I want to kind of clarify the lead, and I'm going to challenge you for a second. Okay. We don't really challenge each other on this podcast a lot. Usually we just agree a lot with each other. But I'm going to challenge you. The average number of leads over the last 10 years has been steadily going up. Like huge, not steadily, like exponentially going up. Like 200 million leads in a year. 200 million leads versus 1.4 million transactions. Mm-hmm. So the number of leads, if the past is a future indicator, which a lot of times it is, but not always, I think the number of leads goes up. Now, we may be hitting a critical mass, and maybe 200 million is the max number of real estate leads that the internet can generate. But let's just be honest. What that just says is that a lot of these leads are not going to turn into to close transactions, or they are being poorly converted, and so that one person may represent 15 leads in the system. So I don't know that happens, but I will say the sphere of influence piece is 100% where your money is and where you can have predictable business. Leads of somebody else providing those to you is not predictable. That is somebody else owns it and they're selling it to you, and you are the consumer. You, the real estate agent, or the consumer buying this lead, and somebody else is controlling your business. Your sphere of influence is yours, and you control that, and you spend what you want, and you dictate how you're going to pull business out of that. So let's kind of talk back to the formula you mentioned. If you have a sphere of influence of whatever it is, these are people that, I want you to pull out a piece of paper, I want you to write this down. These are people that know, like, and trust you. If you walked into a room, they would recognize you, they would want to come up and say hello to you, and they would also take your phone call when you called them. Okay? This is not just somebody who lives in your neighborhood who may have gotten a postcard from you. These are people that know, like, and trust you. And this group of people, if you take that number and you multiply it times 5, and then you multiply that number times 5%, that's going to give you the number of transactions that you should be able to pull out of your database or your sphere of influence. And the rationale, and this number is not just a formula that's just been made up. This has been proven. We've got the data to show that this is operating at about a 97 to 98% efficiency if you are touching and communicating with your folks at least 24 times a year. So this is important of how you execute on this, but your database is made up of those group of people. And the idea is that those people know 5 people every year that are going to buy and sell a piece of real estate. And the conversion rate that you would get roughly, if you're doing it at a high level, you're going to get roughly 5%. 95% are going to go where else? They know another real estate agent. They do it on their own, whatever it may be. But you're going to only recoup 5% of those groups of people. And that's what your database or your sphere of influence should be producing for you. And what does that look like? That looks like if you have a 200 person database and you multiply that times 5, that gets you 1,000 people. And if you get 5% of those, that is a phenomenal business that looks, and depending on your average price point, could look like a $400,000 gross commission income business just from your sphere of influence.
Yeah, so it's basically turns out to 50 deals.
50 deals.
50 deals. So if you have 200 people in your sphere of influence, or if you have 100, let's say you have 100 to 200, and you're not doing 25 to 50 deals out of that sphere of influence, you need to figure out why you're not in flow with your people like you should be.
Yep. And if I ask you, how many times do you communicate with your clients directly? This is not I'm posting in social media. This is a direct conversation. If you tell me it's 4, 12, I'm going to tell you it's not enough. Somebody else is doing more or should be doing more, or they're just not in direct flow with you. It takes more direct contact to really execute and convert on a sphere of influence model.
Yep. This is what we're talking about, guys, about becoming a pro or being a pro in this market. This is what it's going to take to be able to succeed in this market. So, if you need any of these kind of ideas or whatever to stay in flow with your people, contact us. Let us know. We teach this stuff all the time. So we'd love to talk to you about it.
Absolutely. And as you are trying to prepare, not really prepare, but an idea of what the next 12 months look like, Honestly, guys, it's going to be up and down. Interest rates are going to go up. Interest rates are going to come down. They're probably going to hover in that 7.5 to 5.5 range. That's a big range. Which, when it gets in the upper end, things are going to cool off. When it dips down below 6.5, things are going to heat back up. So just be prepared to do the things that you can control. You can't control the market. You can't control the interest rates. What you can control is who you contact, what you do when you wake up in the morning, and how you treat people along the way. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, it's been a fantastic session. Brian, I appreciate it. And we will see you guys next time.
See ya.